White oppressive forces are waging a covert war against us that most black people don't understand. And our ignorance of this covert war is the white oppressor's greatest power over us. This is why those of us who know must teach. African proverb. The choice is yours. You can choose to continue believing in falsehoods that insult your own intelligence, thus going from your cradles to your grave, having lived your entire life, being the white oppressor's mentally enslaved fools. Or you can choose to instead elevate your mind and learn the truth that would ultimately set your mind free. This means that you can choose to continue believing that a Bible that was brutally beaten into the blood-soaked minds of our enslaved ancestors will now ridiculously set us free. Or you can continue believing that we're being controlled by a silly slave syndrome myth, which presents what would be the least effective method used for controlling generations of people. Or you can choose to learn the following truth that will set your mind free. Remember, I never said that what I teach would be easily comprehended by all. I only said it would be the truth that will set your mind free. So please listen and try to comprehend it. Nowadays, many people defend their opinions and beliefs by stating that those opinions and beliefs must be true, given that they are shared by millions. However, not because millions of people share the same opinions and beliefs does not make those opinions and beliefs true. In most cases, it's only because those people have all been subjected to the same fraudulent propaganda campaign that were deliberately designed to embed those false opinions and beliefs into their minds. Likewise, the fact that millions of black people now holds the opinion that we are now our worst enemies and believes that we made the N-word ours is not because those beliefs and opinions are true. It's because millions have been subjected to the same fraudulent propaganda that was deliberately designed to embed those false beliefs into our collective minds. Regardless of how intelligent people are, those who write the narratives that they receive are able to control what they believe. Because white oppressive forces writes the narratives that black people receives, and they've conditioned us to blindly believe, they constantly feed us false information that keeps our opinions and beliefs in ways that serves and protects the interests of the white society. It's the true reason why many black people now perceive ourselves as being our own worst enemies and reveres our oppressors in spite of a brutally horrific history of the contrary. It's also true that those who control the people's media images are able to negatively steer their culture because a group's identity is shaped by how they repetitively see themselves being depicted within the media. People often imitates and then becomes those derogatory media depictions of their group that they've accepted as being their reality. Therefore, those who control the people's media images literally control their culture. Because white oppressive forces controls the media images of black people, they're actually steering our culture. It's actually they that are telling us how our group are supposed to act and dress. It's therefore actually them that have many of us dressing like sagging clowns and acting like ghetto buffoons. What many African Americans naively perceive as being our own created swagger, such as self-identifying ourselves by the N-word, routinely referring to our women by the B and the H word, sagging our pants and glorifying pimps, are actually the deliberate results of white negative media social engineering. This is not a conspiracy theory, nor some feeble-minded attempt at scapegoating to absolve ourselves of our own responsibilities. It's the truth. It is a well-proven tactic called media social engineering. And we African Americans are more susceptible to negative media social engineering, given that we have been stripped of our true identity and culture during the enslavement of our ancestors. The truth sounds ridiculous to those who are lesser informed, but nonetheless, those who know the truth must teach. African proverb. Presently, there are white men that specializes in psychiatry and propaganda that works unrelentingly behind the scenes, perpetually manipulating the collective minds of the black masses. These men govern our minds, molds our opinions, shapes our beliefs, and steers our culture in ways that serves and protects the system of white supremacy. This system was originally implemented in 1968 in response to that decade's unprecedented unified black protests. It's how the government ensures that that level of unified black protest never happens again. Here's that hidden history. In 1968, white social scientists were hired by the Kerner Commission to thoroughly study the African American population. Their mission was to find a reason for that decade's unprecedented unified black protests, and then develop methods and remedies to prevent it from happening again. Those white social scientists learned then that while the oppressors, through their weaponry advantages of guns, cannons, and rifles, could brutally invade and enslave Africans, they, however, cannot win our loyalty or sustain peace with us indefinitely unless our minds were manipulated to think in ways that prevented us from unifying and seeking retribution against the white oppressors. Because whenever people are oppressed for long durations, their collective aggressions towards their oppressors will continue to grow until it reaches a boiling point wherein which acts of massive rebellion and retribution becomes inevitable. The oppressed always eventually rebels against their oppressors. This is an inherent response within the collective human psyche whenever people are being oppressed for long durations. This is what was actually happening amongst the African American population during the 1960s. White racism had reached a boiling point within the collective minds of the African American population, which resulted in that decade's unprecedented unified black protests. Those white social scientists also determined that blatant white racism was also a significant factor for that decade's unprecedented black protests. These findings resulted in white oppressive forces abandoning the blatant Jim Crow segregation systems used in the past for maintaining their white social dominance over the black population. They instead developed more covert methods for meeting that objective. Methods that are not as easily recognized nor as easily comprehended by most of their black victims. Thus, allowing the white establishment to continue secretly subjugating and oppressing black people without any black resistance. The mission of those white social scientists was to also determine our greatest strength and then attack it unrelentingly, and to determine our most exploitable weakness and then exploit it unrelentingly. They determined that black unity was our greatest strength. They therefore now perpetually negatively distort what we believe about ourselves as a means of attacking black unity. Because doing so demoralizes us, divides us, and shifts our collective aggressions away from the white society and redirects it against ourselves. Thus, attacking our greatest strength, which was our unity. Moreover, thus creating profound division and black self-hate, which attacks the core foundation of what bonds us as a people, thus allowing the white oppressors to rule over us forever. They had also determined that an aggravating core factor for the 1960s unprecedented unified black protests was also caused by an elevated and unifying black collective self-esteem, which was brought on by that decade's Black Pride movement. Therefore, that aforementioned propaganda campaign that keeps us believing the fraudulent worse about ourselves, it also works by keeping our collective self-esteem very low, which also prevents our ability to unify against the white oppressive society. They determined that our most exploitable weakness was the fact that we were stripped of our true identity and culture during the enslavement of our ancestors. As I've stated earlier, people that have been stripped of their true identity and culture are more susceptible to negative media social engineering. They exploit this fact by negatively steering our culture through negative media social engineering programs. It's the true reason why millions of us now self-identify by the N-word, sags our pants, and glorifies pimps. It's been done through the media. We imitate what we see. To summarize, white oppressive forces have deployed an elaborate disinformation warfare social engineering campaign against the Black population. It uses disinformation as an offensive psychological warfare tactic. It uses disinformation and misinformation and distorted media depictions to change a targeted population's collective beliefs, behaviors, and cultures in ways that are against our own interests, and instead in ways to serving the interests of the system of white supremacy. It's the warfare tactic that keeps the Black masses thinking and behaving in ways that ensures that the same level of Black unified protests demonstrated during the 1960s never happens again. This is the true reason why the African American culture changed from having implemented the most successful unified protests in U.S. history to now being more divided than any previous time in U.S. history. It's why we changed from calling ourselves brothers and sisters to now calling ourselves by the N-word and the B-word. It's why we changed from knowing that white oppressive forces were our worst enemies to now believing that we are our worst enemies. We have fundamentally changed 180 degrees. It's always by deliberate design whenever the oppressed changes in ways that totally benefits the oppressors. White oppressive forces have deployed an elaborate psychological warfare campaign against the entire African American population. The hidden reality is that although the white government now publicly professes equality for all of its citizens, the hidden reality is that the government is unrelentingly committed towards the preservation of its nation's white social dominance and white social capital over its Black population. There is also an immense fear of massive unified Black rebellion that also secretly exists amongst the white ruling elites within the government, given their nation's long history of systematically oppressing its Black population. This unrelenting commitment towards the preservation of their nation's white social dominance over the Black population and this immense concern of massive unified Black retribution necessitates that the collective minds of the Black masses be manipulated and that our culture be socially engineered in ways that aids the white society in maintaining its social dominance over us and that prevents massive unified Black rebellion against the white oppressive society. In fact, if the white government did not deploy this psychological warfare campaign against its entire Black population, it would have been diametrically opposing its own self-interest. Welcome to the real world. There are those working behind the scenes to keep us believing dumb, idiotic beliefs in terms of our plight and condition, to keep us confused and divided. I just presented you the truth of our plight and condition. Once you learn the truth and develop a greater understanding, we can now develop the proper counter strategies to liberate ourselves. One love and peace. Stop believing in all those idiotic things that insult your intelligence. I've just presented you a concise, intelligent understanding of what we're faced, what we're up against. Brothers and sisters, it's time to wake up. One love and peace.